They planned to destroy Iran in days.
We will easily prevail.
They killed the supreme leader, they bombed over 5,000 targets, they obliterated Iran's navy, crippled its nuclear sites, and wiped out its air defenses.
The U.S. says 49 leaders from the Iranian regime have been killed.
And yet, Iran was still firing missiles, still closing the Strait of Hormuz, still threatening to take down the entire global oil supply.
Our leaders are united on this issue and have no disagreements with one another.
How? How is that possible? Because the United States and Israel walked into this war with one catastrophic assumption, that if you cut off the head, the snake dies. They were wrong. And today, we're going to break down exactly what happened, why the most powerful military alliance in the world may have dangerously underestimated Iran, and what that means for all of us. Let's go back to February 28, 2026, 1:15 in the morning. The United States and Israel launch a simultaneous, massive military campaign. The US called it Operation Epic Fury. Israel called it Operation Roaring Lion. The goals were clear: destroy Iran's nuclear program permanently, obliterate its ballistic missile arsenal, sink its navy, and kill the regime's leadership, starting at the very top. This was not a small strike. This was the largest American military operation since the 2003 invasion of Iraq. B-2 stealth bombers, F-35s, aircraft carriers, attack submarines, Tomahawk cruise missiles, thousands of targets simultaneously. On paper, it was overwhelming, unstoppable, the kind of operation that ends wars in hours. And on day one, it looked like it was working, because they did the unthinkable. They killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the man who had ruled for 37 years. His compound in Tehran was destroyed, his wife killed, his son killed, dozens of top officials dead. The head of the snake gone. So why is this war still going? Here's where the planners' assumptions started to crack. Within hours of the strikes, Iran launched Operation True Promise 4, a full-scale retaliatory campaign unlike anything the region had seen. They fired hundreds of ballistic missiles at Israel, not just ordinary missiles. They used their most advanced weapons, hypersonic glide vehicles, cluster munitions, payloads exceeding 1 ton of explosives per warhead. And some of them got through. In the Tel Aviv metropolitan area, one missile exploded mid-air and scattered its submunitions across a 27-kilometer radius, hitting 7 populated zones simultaneously. The damage was devastating. Over 5,500 residential units damaged, 65 schools hit, 14 hospitals and medical centers struck, the Haifa power plant set ablaze, the Bazan oil refinery, Israel's largest, severely damaged. Think about that. Israel has the most sophisticated multi-layered missile defense system on Earth, Arrow 3, David's Sling, and Iran still punched through it. But Iran wasn't just targeting Israel. They went after the United States directly. This is the part that doesn't get enough attention. Iran struck American military bases across the entire Gulf region. At Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the nerve center of U.S. operations in the Middle East, a precision ballistic missile destroyed a single radar system, a $1.1 billion AN-FPS-132 phased array radar, gone. The primary early warning system for U.S. forces in the region, blinded in one strike. At Camp Arifan in Kuwait, drones took out 6 SATCOM radomes, the communication backbone of U.S. Central Command's forward headquarters. 6 American soldiers were killed. In Bahrain, drones hit fuel tanks near the international airport, massive fires, civilian disruptions. In Saudi Arabia, the Ras Tanura refinery, the single largest oil processing facility on the planet, was struck. Even Dubai was hit, with debris raining down over residential areas of one of the world's busiest cities. Let that sink in. Iran, a country that had just had its supreme leader assassinated and its military bombarded for days, still managed to execute precision strikes across 5 different countries simultaneously. The US was forced to emergency redeploy a THAAD missile defense battery from South Korea to cover the gap. From South Korea, meaning the Indo-Pacific security posture was weakened while fighting a war in the Middle East. That's not just resilience, that's a strategic counterpunch. Now, beyond the missiles and the bases, Iran played its most dangerous card of all, the global economy, the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil passes through this narrow waterway every single day, and Iran moved to close it. Naval mines were laid, swarm attacks on commercial ships began. A Thai-flagged cargo vessel was struck and set ablaze, 3 sailors missing. Oil prices spiked toward $120 a barrel overnight. Qatar was forced to halt its liquid natural gas production. Kuwait, the UAE, and Iraq shut down oil fields and export terminals. The global aviation industry collapsed across the region. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimated the Middle East was losing $600 million a day in visitor spending alone. And then it got darker. Both sides started targeting water. Iran struck a desalination plant on Keshem Island, cutting off drinking water to 30 villages. Bahrain reported drone attacks on its own water facilities. In a region where fresh water comes almost entirely from desalination, this is not just economic warfare, it's existential. This is what happens when a country that knows it can't win conventionally decides to make everyone feel the pain. Now, here's one of the strangest chapters of this entire war. After Khamenei was killed, the world waited to see if Iran would collapse, if there'd be a revolution from within, if the population would rise up. That was the plan. That was the hope. What actually happened, the regime appointed a temporary council, scrambled the assembly of experts, Iran's clerical leadership council, and within days announced a new supreme leader, Khamenei's own son, Mojtaba Khamenei. The Islamic Revolution just became a monarchy. But here's where it gets even stranger. Mojtaba had also been injured in the same strike that killed his father, and after being named supreme leader of one of the most powerful states in the Middle East, he disappeared. No video, no public appearance, no address to the nation. For days, state TV was playing decades-old photographs and AI-generated images of a man who may or may not have been conscious. Iranians communicating through fragmented SMS networks because the government had shut off the entire internet were calling him a leader no one has seen. People joked there wasn't even enough audio of him to make a deepfake speech. It wasn't until March 12th, 4 days after his appointment, that a written statement appeared. No video, no audio, just text claiming to be from the new supreme leader. So who is actually running Iran right now? The Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, the IRGC. They always were, and the assassination of Khamenei just made it official. And here's something you probably haven't seen covered anywhere else: the war on information itself. Israel passed emergency laws making it a criminal offense up to 5 years in prison for civilians to post videos or photos of missile damage on social media. Police raided hotel rooms, confiscated cameras, physically blocked journalists from filming impact sites. The reason? If Iranian military planners could see exactly where their missiles landed, they could adjust their targeting for the next wave. The information blackout was a real military strategy. In the UAE, the government went even further. Under their cybercrime laws, filming missile debris from your hotel balcony could land you in prison for 2 years and a fine of $54,000. A British tourist in his 60s was arrested in Dubai for filming missiles from a hotel window. And Iran simply turned off the internet completely. Within hours of the first strikes, internet traffic dropped to 1% of normal levels, 99% blackout. They weren't just hiding the damage from the world, they were blocking IDF evacuation warnings from reaching Iranian civilians living near targeted sites. Every side in this war decided that controlling what people see is just as important as controlling the battlefield. Let's answer the question directly. Yes, in one critical way, absolutely yes. The US and Israel assumed that killing the leadership would cause the system to collapse, that the Iranian people would rise up, that the IRGC would fracture, that the proxies, Hezbollah, the Iraqi militias, would stand down. None of that happened. Why? Because Iran isn't a normal state held together by one man. It's a deeply entrenched military theocratic system built over 45 years specifically to survive this scenario. The IRGC doesn't need a supreme leader to fire missiles. The proxy network doesn't need orders from Tehran to launch rockets into northern Israel. The naval forces don't need a command center to lay mines in the Strait of Hormuz. The US military knew this, by the way. Intelligence assessments warned about exactly this resilience, but the political will to strike overrode the strategic caution. What you get when you decapitate a system like this isn't collapse. You get a military dictatorship with nothing left to lose and 160 remaining ballistic missile launchers still pointed at your cities. This war is not over, and it's not going the way anyone planned.